In this lab, we're going to cover text file I/O, or text file input/output, or reading and writing from a text file. To read or write from a text file, we're going to need to include something new. So we're going to include fstream. So right up at the top where we do our normal # includes, we're going to include fstream, which handles the input/output operations for a text file. All right, we're going to talk about a couple of things that are contained inside of the fstream class. One of them is ifstream, which stands for input file stream. It's used for file input, or input from a file stream. So this is input file stream. Another one we're going to use for this lab, or this video series, is ofstream, which is for the output file stream. Anytime we're talking about the file stream, we're talking about ways to talk to or get things from that file that is associated with that particular stream. As we go forward in the video, I just want you to keep these in mind. First, I want to show you some of the similarities between what we're going to be doing with file and what we've been doing up till now with writing and reading from the console. So let's look at that. In the past, when we wanted to display something on the screen, we would do cout. Use our insertion operators to insert into the console output stream, and we would say hello world, and we would do an inline or a \n. Let's run our code and look at that. And we see our hello world, and we have just successfully sent the string literal hello world to the console output stream, or cout, and displayed it on the screen. Very similar concept to what we're going to be doing with files. So let's take a look at files. Let's say we want to do the exact same thing, but we want, instead of displaying it on the screen, we want to put it into a text file. A text file is like anything you can open up in Notepad. Remember Notepad? You can type some text and save it. Or in our case, we would put hello world. Excuse me, wrong screen. Hello world. And we would save the file. I'm not going to save this one, but you get the idea. It's just a text. So let's close that out. So what we're going to do is do something similar to creating a text file entry. So to begin with, we need to create a stream to work with. Now, up to now, we've been working with a console stream. Now we want to work with a file stream. We'll say which we're going to output to a file. That's going to be the OF stream, or output file stream. We need to create an object, much like a variable would be created, that we can associate with that. We're going to call this out, just to make it easy to relate to. So now we have created a stream object called out that's associated with an output stream. Up to now, we've created the object, but we haven't associated it with a file. So now we need to associate this with a file. So we're going to use the object out, use our dot operator, and one of the options we have in here is open. So we select open. Inside the parentheses, we're going to provide the name of the file we're working with. This is going to be hello, we'll call it test.txt. How's that? Semicolon. And so now we have associated the output file stream object called out with the physical disk file called test.txt. Now, much as we use cout to display the contents on the, or send contents of the string literal hello world to the console output stream, now we want to use the file output stream called out. So all we have to do is take the C off because we called it out, and we can use the output file stream to send our text string literal, hello world to. But one other thing we need to consider, we opened a file. Well, once you open a file, it's much like a refrigerator. If you open the door and take something out or put something in, you need to close the door, right? So we're going to close our output file because we don't want to leave it open. So we do out.close, and this will close our output file. This is the basics right here of writing to a file. Okay, let's run it and see what happens. If I currently go out there and look in my directory, which is on the wrong screen, sorry, there, let me get rid of these other files. There is no text files whatsoever out here called test.txt, which is what we're working with. So let's run our code and create our test.txt, which we'll have inserted into that output file stream, into that file, hello world. So let's run our code, see if we get our file. No message, because we, instead of sending anything to the output, the console output, excuse me, the console stream, we instead sent all the output to the text file. So let's go look again. And we should see we have test.txt. It has 1 kilobyte in size, so we know it has content. If we double click it to open it in Notepad, it says hello world, the output from our code. Drag this over a little bit. The output from line 29, or excuse me, 30, where we did our out statement. Okay, let's close that out and look at it some more. With the code above, we've actually written contents to a text file. Now let's look at reading the contents back from a text file. So I'm going to comment out all of this code. Scroll that what's a little easier to see. Now we're going to look at reading that information back from the file. Well, first let's go ahead and give ourselves a variable, because we want to store this value in a variable. So I'm going to come up here and in my section where I'm going to declare and initialize my variables on other components, we're going to go up here and we're going to create a variable. In this case, we're going to create a string variable, which we can do because on line 16 we've included the string. Okay, so I'm going to include a string variable, str line input. So let's come down and see how we can read from that file. Now, if on line 31, this was how we did an output object. Let's come down here. That's how we did output. Well, we want to do input, so we change the O to an I. So we're using the input for stream object. Obviously, that's not an out, that's an in. So I'm going to, instead of using cin, we're going to use in to represent that value. Because if you were getting input from a console, you would be using cin, for example. Well, the same thing can apply here. We're going to use an input stream. We're going to associate it with a file. In this case, the name of the file is the same name we used a while ago, test.txt. Oops, forgot my semicolon. Now we want to read the contents of that in. And again, what we have in our file currently is hello world. We can take a look at that by verifying again, just to refresh our memory. This is what we're hopefully going to read in, hello world. So we're going to do in, and much like we do with cin, we're going to extract using the extraction operator from that stream. We're going to extract the value, and we only have hello world in there. So let's see what happens when we try to put that into string line input. And since we opened the file, we need to close it because we're through using it. Let's display the value of str line input. So we do a cout with an inline, and we'll do a system pause for good measure, P-A-U-S-E. Okay, we're no longer writing because we have commented that out. We are now reading using the input file stream object called in. We've associated that input file stream object with the file test.txt. We're going to read in that line and store it in a variable called str line input. So let's run our code and see what it looks like. We got hello. Wait a minute, that's not what we expected. Let's go take a look. We open up our file again, we take another look at it, and we got hello. But we did not get hello world. Let's look at why that happened. Okay, in a normal situation, we would use the in and we would get the first data item. The problem is that much like cin, the file stream reads to the first return or blank space and says, okay, I've read my first item. Well, between hello and world is a blank space. So it sees hello as one data item and world as a separate data item. So if you only have hello that you're trying to read, you're okay. But if you're trying to read hello world, we're going to have to do something a little different because of the embedded space. Now, again, if you're just reading this, then you're okay. But we want the whole thing. So we're going to read it using Getline. Getline, and again, there's a separate video out there on it in Moodle. Okay, so that we can read a line that has an embedded space in it, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to use Getline, so we're going to comment out our normal line that would equate to doing a cin, and we're going to use the Getline method to get that whole line. So we use Getline. We specify inside of there as the first parameter that we're using the input file stream. The second parameter is the variable where we are storing that value. And this will read the line up to the end of line or new line character, which will give us the entire hello world. So let's see how that works. Hello world. So in fact, we have read the entire line of characters, including the embedded space. So just to be aware, if you're working with data and the line may have embedded spaces in it, you're going to have, instead of having just to use regular in this case, you're going to have to use Getline. Now, while I say in, we could actually call this anything. I could call this Bob, but that would not be very appropriate for a self-documenting program. But just to demonstrate, Bob, Bob, Bob. Run that code, and you'll see it works again just fine. Now, being good programmers, we want to name this something more appropriate. So, in. I'm good with the in for this, where we're at in the class. So we'll do in, because in helps correlate it to the behavior of cin. So that is how to read data from a text file when a line of the data contains an embedded blank space. We use Getline. Thank you for watching this video.